Hey, I'm Becca with the Happy Ever Crafter, and today I'm going to walk you through my 10 must-have art supplies for calligraphy. If you stick around to the end of the video, I'm going to show you where you can download a guide to all of these supplies and where you can get them so that you're not wandering through the art store for 6 hours, which I do all the time. Let's get started. My favorite is RHODIA paper. RHODIA comes in all different shapes and sizes, and the covers are yellow or orange or black or white, and they come in different formats. So you can have blank ones, you can have grid pads, and there are dot pads. So they're all kind of for different uses for me in different sizes. I carry one in my purse sometimes because I'm crazy like that. But they're just really nice smooth paper that will be usable with brush pens or with your pointed pens or even with paintbrushes sometimes. And I just love them. So RHODIA is number one. Number two is sort of two in one, I guess you could say, but still along the lines of paper. Strathmore makes two really good papers that I love. The Bristol is just called Bristol Smooth Surface, and this one is just a thicker paper that I can use for more finished products, but it's really smooth, so it's still really good for my brush pens or my pointed pens. And then I also use a lot of the Strathmore watercolor. This is cold press watercolor, so it's got some grit to it. I wouldn't use my brush pens on here, but I would use this for watercolor paintings or for watercolor lettering and stuff like that. So Strathmore papers are number two. Number three is hands down my favorite brush pen of all time. This is the TOMBOW FUDENOSUKE. It has a blue barrel, but there's also one that has a green barrel. And the difference on them is that one is hard tip and one is soft tip. So they're very similar, but one's a little bit more flexible than the other. This is by far my favorite beginner tool, but also the one that I use 99% of the time. So TOMBOW FUDENOSUKE is number three. Number four is the PALOMINO BLACKWING pencil. These are not normally this short, but because I use them so much, they're getting shorter and I got to get some new ones. But they have removable erasers in them, so you can refill the erasers as you need to. And they're just amazing quality lead. They are all different kinds of lead. So there's three different colors of these PALOMINO BLACKWING pencils, gray, black, and white, and they're all different, but all equally amazing. So these are my favorite to practice with if I'm doing pencil stuff because you can totally see the difference between the thin and the thick lines. So PALOMINO BLACKWING pencils are number four. Next up are my MICRON pens. So these are not brush pens, these are normal ink pens, but they are really good quality ink, and they come in all different size tips. So 1, 3, 5 are my favorite, but they come in lots more than that. And they actually are really great if you're using them with any kind of watercolor and stuff like that. They don't bleed, and they're just archival ink, so they don't fade. They're really nice to work with, and I love them. So they're number five, MICRON pens. For white pens, my favorite is the UNIBALL SIGNO or SIGNO, or however you want to say it, SIGNO. This is just a really nice opaque white ink that you can use, and I find it flows a lot better than the other white pens I've seen. It's not a brush pen, but you can do some good faux calligraphy with it. After that, I love SHARPIE oil paint pens. These I use a lot on chalkboards or glass or mirrors, that kind of thing. And these are also pretty permanent. I don't want to say they won't come off, because they will. If you use rubbing alcohol or acetone to get it off, it will come off. But if you want this to be on a surface that's not going to fade off or chip off, these are really awesome. And I just find that they have a better flow coming out, like the paint comes out better than a lot of other paint pens you might find. So SHARPIE oil paint pens. For pointed pen calligraphy, my favorite nib is the Zebra G nib. So this is a really good one for beginners, but it's also the one I use most of the time because it's nice and sharp on the end, so you can get a really thin upstroke, but it's actually quite flexible, so you can get your good downstroke with that too. So Zebra G nib. And then for ink, my favorite is SUMI ink. This one's KURETAKE, but there are tons of different kinds of SUMI ink you can find. It's just a really nice smooth ink, and it works really well with a lot of nibs. It's not very fussy, so it is easy to work with. And then lastly, for actual paintbrushes, my favorite paintbrushes are this Snap brand. So I have tons of different sizes of them. I have some that I use more for lettering, and I have some that I use more for actual painting. But these are just really good quality. They're round brushes, so they're great for lettering. But they're also good quality, and they're not too expensive, so they're really, really nice. They're by a brand called Princeton. So if you can find those wherever you live, those are fantastic. And that's that for my favorite top 10 supplies for calligraphy. Basically, to recap, you have RHODIA paper, you have Strathmore, Bristol, and watercolor paper, you have a TOMBOW FUDENOSUKE pen, hard tip, PALOMINO BLACKWING pencils, MICRON pens, the UNIBALL SIGNO, or SIGNO, I never know how to say that, SHARPIE oil paint pens, Zebra G nib, SUMI ink, and Princeton paintbrushes. So I hope that was helpful, and I wish you luck going and spending all of your money at the art store. But I will link in the show notes to a file where you can download my list of supplies and some links to find them online as well. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time.